Today is Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. My name is Matt Anderson, and we are at the Henry Ford sitting in our Driven to Win exhibit. And we are joined today by Armani Williams, accomplished racing driver and not only a professional in the sport, but also, I think, a fan of the sport. So we're going to talk to him a little bit about his own experiences racing and his thoughts on this new exhibit. So Armani, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, I want to start, I guess, right at the beginning, and let's talk about your personal history. How is it that you first got interested in auto racing?
It all started when I was, very, very young, playing cars at home, whether it was Matchbox or Hot Wheels. I happened to hear something about NASCAR, and I thought, hey, this sounds pretty cool. I want to see what this is all about. The first time I watched NASCAR on TV, it amazes me just how fast those cars are going. 180, 190, almost 200. I'm like, man, these speeds are insane. They're flying around here. My interest in racing skyrocketed right away. And to this day, I try never to miss a NASCAR race. I told my dad that this is something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional race car driver as well. I started racing when I was 8 years old in the go-karts. Then moved up into mini cubs, half version of a full stock car, had 18 wins and a couple of championships. It was pretty successful. And then I moved up into much bigger vehicles with bigger horsepower, bigger weight in the ARCA Truck Pro Series. Got to race a truck. And that same year, I had an opportunity to be invited to this program called the NASCAR Driver Diversity Program. It takes people me like African American drivers from out of this country, females, just to help them find some exposure to keep them moving up the ranks in NASCAR. Fortunately, I wasn't able to get chosen by the team that was part of that program, but NASCAR saw the potential in me. That kind of exposure is what kind of helped leapfrog me to get up to NASCAR. They had me wanting to start in another NASCAR series up in Canada, the NASCAR Pinty Series. Much better competition, racing against the best Canadian drivers in the world. You think about the Indianapolis 500, one of the race car drivers, Alex Tagliani, used to be a former pole center. So I got to race against him. Great learning experience. Just, how to keep up with the pros, they know how to go fast. They know how to set the pace, and I think it was just more of trying to keep up with them, making sure I knew how to gain time, gain advantage on others. And then came back to the US and, what was known as the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East and West. And I think I made a collective of 5 to 6 starts and then moved my way up to the ARCA Menards Series. Made a couple of starts last year at Phoenix last March, and then at my hometown track in Michigan, we're here right now, and got a top 10 finish out of it. So it's been quite the journey, 11 to 12 years, still trying to continue forward to hopefully get to the top 3 levels of NASCAR, the Camping World Trucks, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and then the ultimate is the NASCAR Cup Series, the very top level of the sport. That's where I eventually want to end up, but the journey's still rolling, and hopefully I'll be able to get there.
You mentioned already about how when you went up to the Pinty Series, and I imagine the K&N Pro Series here too, and how you would see some of the best drivers in the country. And I wanted to ask you if you had, either as a kid or maybe even today, drivers that you admired, people you looked up to or were heroes of yours.
One of my first favorite drivers was Jimmie Johnson. Being a 7-time Cup champion, he always sort of demonstrate what it took to be a true champion on the track with his driving ability, his driving style, but the things that he does off the track, with him supporting the community and helping to give back, just those every little bits I kind of try to emulate from him to put into my racing. I've also looked to, a couple of the pioneers, from what I am, think of Bubba Wallace, who's one of the few African-American drivers, including myself, racing in NASCAR, but he's up in the NASCAR Cup Series. He's already worked his way to the very top. That's quite an accomplishment. I look up to him a lot, and I also look up to, a longtime driver, in Wendell Scott. He was the first African-American NASCAR driver to win a NASCAR race, So I kind of look to those two as an inspiration, knowing that, African Americans can make it to the very top of the sport, if given the opportunity and the chance, and who knows? I mean, I like to someday maybe break that long drought of African American winning a NASCAR race. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. And yeah, Bubba Wallace is such a great figure. He's been very prominent in the last year or two in the Black Lives Matter movement and really speaking out for NASCAR and how it can be more welcoming to diversity. So it's a great pick, I think, for a favorite driver. On that note, are there any tracks that are really special to you? Any places either that maybe you've gone as a fan or that you've competed on?
Any hometown track is always special. And so, my special track, would happen to be Michigan National Speedway. My dad picked me up from school, and surprised me by going to Michigan International Speedway so we could go watch cars practice, so that was a special time. And I always dreamed of racing there, which I eventually got to do last year, and got my first top 10 there. So, that was a special day, and then a couple of tracks, Daytona being one of them. You talk about the Daytona 500, the biggest NASCAR race ever. There's just so much history, so much prestige that it becomes every race car driver's dream of getting into that race, but also winning that race, just to be part of that history. And then Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you talk about the famous Indy 500, the greatest spectacle in racing. That was actually the first track that I got to go see in person as a fan, I think when I was 10 years old. That place has so much history, so much prestige as well. I haven't raced at Indianapolis yet, but one of these days I hope to race there as well, and maybe win at Indianapolis.
You mentioned some of your goals that you have that you'd like to get into the top 3 NASCAR series, but I wonder if you wanted to talk a little more about some of the things you hope to achieve and how it is you're working to get there.
The ultimate goal is to get to the very top, like I mentioned before, in the NASCAR Cup Series, but I don't think you can really try to rush it too much. You got to make sure that, you're ready for what's coming at you. I like to kind of take a little bit of baby steps to go along with this. So, like I mentioned before, there's 3 top level NASCAR series that we have right now with the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. That's kind of how I want to start off with, and just kind of go on from there, wherever I end up, if I end up being successful, whether that's that or the NASCAR Xfinity Series or eventually the NASCAR Cup Series. If we can make it to the second level and then the very top, then that's great, but I just basically want to, get up racing the top 3 levels of NASCAR, and just see where my career goes along, see if I end up moving up even more.
Do you have any advice for young people who want to get involved in racing? What kind of things should they be doing? Where should they put their effort?
Start from square one, from racing smaller cars and then kind of working your way up to big cars, as well as making sure you have a support system that is willing to help you move up and through the ranks of racing.
Let's talk a little bit about your work on Race for Autism, and you've made history already as being the first autistic driver in a NASCAR series, which is incredible accomplishment at your age. So congratulations on that. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your foundation. If you could tell us what it does and what kind of work you're involved in.
The Race for Autism Foundation, it's a nonprofit organization built to raise autism awareness, inclusion, and give life enrichment opportunities to individuals and families that have been impacted by autism, as well as the research for autism. One of the things we've done with our foundation is mainly just use my platform of racing to sort of help build the awareness up. We contact a local autism association, no matter what race I went into. If they got kids or, teens with autism or whatever that just want to come and check out a NASCAR race, we try to provide them with free tickets just so they can spend an entire day at the track just to get to enjoy the environment of what it's actually like, because with people with autism, there's just a lot of uncertainty and we just don't know what we actually enjoy or what we see as fun, so we always figure, have them spend a day at the track, check out the cars. I'm sure, they'll like how they look, and I'm sure they like them going fast and all that, as well as, speaking at different types of autism related associations. I think, I once spoke and worked with the Autism Alliance of Michigan, UAW Ford at, at Southwest Detroit, the GM-ABLE program. I got a chance to speak down at the Akron Sioux, first century autism Sioux, just to kind of help promote that area, and so many more. And it's just mainly we try to spread the word, of, autism, knowing that dreams can be possible, even if you have autism. You just got to be willing to find what you exactly love and what's your real passion, and just take advantage of it. Don't let autism get in the way of it, and if you just put in the hard work, the commitment, and you believe in yourself and you encourage yourself for what you love to do and what you really are, many, many things are possible. So that's one of the things that my organization that's what it's about.
It's a great answer and a wonderful organization. And I think that's a special thing about racing, is that it gives you a good platform to promote those messages. And I know you're involved. We talked about Bubba Wallace and his work on Black Lives Matter. And I know Danica Patrick, I think, was involved in spreading awareness of pulmonary diseases and things. So it's a great tradition that you're involved in and continuing that good work. So saying that, I would ask, what is it that racing can do to help be more welcoming to fans? And we'll say fans with diagnosed autism spectrum disorder, but I would also ask about like minority fans. You mentioned your status as one of the few African-American drivers active in NASCAR right now. What can the sport do to bring more people into it?
NASCAR has done a lot of things to kind of try and promote diversity and just include everybody, like no matter like what they are, just to kind of be part of the sport. I think really, as far as like the, autism is concerned, I'm sure that they can build some sort of sensory friendly activities, more related with autism kids, maybe like a day or two before the race, they get to maybe come down and check out the track and see the cars in the garage area, before they get going. And, maybe come and, be a part of the race, whether it's being on pit road, whether it's being a suite, make sure they got headphones on, because we as autism, we're very sensitive to loud noises. So, I think that'd be something cool for NASCAR to do, and I think same for, African Americans, like just bring a group of African Americans like a day or two before the race, and have them check out the race as well, just give them some sort of activity, whether like that's a tour guide, they can check out the garage and, just learn what racing is all about and what they have to do, during a racing event. I think that's something that I think NASCAR can take consideration for.
That's terrific. And we'll shift gears here and talk a little bit about your experiences here at the Henry Ford and this exhibit. And I guess my first question is, do you remember the first time you visited the Henry Ford, when that was?
I can't remember the exact time, but I know like it was right around when I was in elementary school. I think I must have been 7 or 8. We would take field trips here. They would have cars that looked like from the 1910s, 1920s. I think that's what really caught my attention to really want to learn more about the history of cars, especially old school cars, because it's just something that I've never had to, experience in my lifetime, just because of how things change innovatively, and evolutionary. The memory of checking out old cars, just all the things that you would see back in the day is what really intrigued me as a kid.
Well, I want to ask you now about Driven to Win specifically, and this is important because you know, like few other people in the world, what it means to be a racing driver and what that is like and what the sport is like. So what do you think of the exhibit?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. Pretty unbelievable. It's just really interesting what they had to race back then and the amount of safety features that they had to deal with as well. You got some fun activities for the kids to do, like with this simulator that we got next to us, and then this pit road. If you're really a car guy, you just really enjoy cars, this is kind of a place to where you really get to, learn more about the history, more than just the history of cars, but just the history of car racing as well. So this exhibit is fantastic. I've enjoyed it.
Part of what we want to do is we want to help bring some new fans to the sport. Maybe people who haven't followed racing before will come through here and they'll say, this is kind of interesting. Maybe I'll watch a race on TV and see where it goes. But do you think the exhibit will help bring new fans to the sport?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for fans, that just again, they just love cars in general, but like, kind of want to learn more about like the racing aspect and the history of racing. I think that like this exhibit like perfectly resembles of them wanting to go check out like all the different cars that are around here and just see like what the people had to race with, how people built them and engineered them, especially like maybe you don't want to be a race car driver, maybe you want to be a mechanic. The cars and the safety features that you guys have shown in this exhibit, I think it would really interest a lot of people and can help bring new fans into the sport, So I would say come over here to Henry Ford Museum at the Driven to Win exhibit and just give a look at all these cars.
I'm glad you mentioned that about people besides drivers. The driver gets all the glory. They're the one that people see on the track and on TV and all that. But you're right. It's a team sport, right? There's all kinds of people working behind the scenes to make any race possible, right?
The driver is always going to drive the car. He's the one who's behind the wheel. He's the guy that knows what's going on inside the car. Just like every other sport, it's always a team sport. In racing, we got a pit crew, we got a crew chief. I mean, at least from my end, I have to communicate with the crew to tell them what's going on with the car. So that way it can help the crew do their part in helping to fix the car to make it better, So, the communication and like making sure, everybody on the team is on the same page, especially in a sport like racing. And especially when it comes down to the nitty gritty, coming to the checkered flag is pretty important.
Do you have any favorite cars in the exhibit that you really like?
Number 82 Lotus 4, driven by Jimmy Clark. The open wheel racing and just what those Indy cars used to look like back then is just, it really intrigued me a lot. And then another one is that number 34, 1966 Ford Galaxy, Wendell Scott. The early days of when, stock cars were kind of like the win on Sunday and sell on Monday type cars. I like that dirt Indy car. Man, I can't imagine, being brave or having the courage to, try to race that thing up a hill and not fall off a cliff. I mean, those type of cars are what I've enjoyed around this exhibit so far.
That's great. And that to me is one thing that makes racing so special is like it's a sport, but it's so many different things in that sport. Driving in NASCAR, driving Indy's totally different from Pikes Peak, like you mentioned. So there's a lot that's captured in that. Well, let's talk about the simulators a little bit. And I understand you drove them, I think, earlier today and maybe have driven them a couple of times.
Had a couple of shots, yeah.
What you know better than anybody. How does that compare to the real thing?
Well, you definitely get the sensation of just imagining yourself inside the cockpit of a race car, like the sensation of the wheel and then just the vibration, the sensation of the seat, no matter what car, what track you're running in, whether it's smooth or whether it's a rough surface, you're rocking around, you're bouncing up and down. It gives you a real sensation. I think it sort of helps you better prepare yourself to what you expect before you come to the racetrack and, actually do the real thing.
Well, we've been trying to make the point in the exhibit that racing drivers they're athletes, right? Just like a football player or a basketball player. And I think you hit on that when you're in the simulators, you get an idea of what it's like to be under that kind of stress driving the car. But you're doing that for a couple of hours at a time, right? When you're in a race?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like any race can be a hot day, it can be almost 190 to 200 degrees in a race car. You have the full suit, the gloves, the helmet, and all the equipment that helps protect you inside the car, So sometimes it can beat you physically and mentally, but there's still that high level of concentration and focus that you have to have because it's a long race. You got to get from start to finish. Being in a race car, demands a little bit of physicality, but, it also tests you mentally, how much you can keep your focus and concentrated, especially during a long race.
How tired do you feel after a race? I mean, are you just exhausted and drained?
It can definitely be tiring, which is why, it's important for race car drivers to keep themselves in shapes, again, physically and mentally.
Before you go into a race, I imagine you feel nervous and there's some anxiousness as you get ready to go out there and compete. How do you take that nervous energy and channel it into a sort of a positive force to give you the strength to go out there and compete?
Really, I think for every time I've gotten in a race car, like I've never been really nervous because being in a race car it just gets me in my comfort zone, because it's what I love. It's what I like to do. It's just going as fast as you can and going as hard as you can. So, while I might be a little nervous, like when it comes race time, it takes me a little bit until the comfort level starts to kick in, and then I know what to expect.
I was going to say one other thing. A lot of drivers we talk to, they'll say like when they're racing, that's the only time they really feel completely alive. It's like everything else is just waiting until the next event. It sounds like you feel a little like that too. When you're in the car, that's when you really feel like you've come to life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I kind of think of in my childhood watching the movie Cars, like I get inside a race car, pull those belts tight, start the engine, and I almost like become the car. I can do whatever I want with it, to just put the pedal to the metal, and just see a car that's in front of me, to make sure I try to see if I can catch him and try to pass that car, so just like when you race for a long time, all the nerves just sort of go away, and you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Do you have any favorite racing movies? It sounds like you might.
That old school movie Days of Thunder, even though I wasn't around at the time, that's a pretty good movie, just to, with Tom Cruise and, all the other actors were there. Just, you kind of feel the rush, you feel the thunder of going around Daytona 190 miles an hour. And, Days of Thunder would probably be my favorite racing movie of all.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Armani. That's great stuff. Great insight too. We appreciate it.